Okay guys, we are going to do a really quick annotation of Old Major speech. Now yesterday you should have read this speech in class and answered the questions on the right hand side of your paper. So I'm not going to be doing that today. I just really want us to talk quickly about pathos, ethos, and logos. And I really want our purpose for this to be for you to be able to discuss how Old Major effectively uses those strategies to convince the other animals on the farm that they should rebel against Farmer Jones. So, real quick, let's just um, remind ourselves what pathos, ethos, and logos is. So, pathos is that emotional response or appeal that we make. It's also the most powerful. Ethos is where we determine the credibility of whoever's speaking, and logos is where we provide facts or make logical connections between ideas. Now we also just want to set our purpose for reading. So remember, if I'm writing, you're writing, our purpose for reading today is to determine how effectively Old Major uses these persuasive techniques. So, he initially starts out by calling them comrades, and I think that's really, really important for us to know is he's equating himself with them. He's saying, hey, I'm one of you. And every time he uses the word comrade, he is saying, hey, I'm just like you. You've heard already about the strange dream I had last night, but I will come to that dream later. I have something else to say first. I do not think, comrades, I shall be with you for many months longer, and before I die, I feel it my duty to pass on to you such wisdom as I have acquired. Bam! Right here, we have this idea that he has wisdom. Oh my goodness. Highlight. There we go. That he has wisdom. Alright, we'll just use the text tool, sorry. That he has wisdom right here, that as he is acquired. So this would be ethos. He is a credible source of info on the farm. He's been around a long time, he knows what he's talking about, he understands, to our knowledge, the plight of the everyday animal. And he says, I've had a long life. I've had much time for thought as I lay alone in my stall, and I think I may say that I understand the nature of life on earth as well as any animal now living. It is about this that I wish to speak to you. So here he lays out why we should believe him and not necessarily the other animals who might stand up and say, Old Major doesn't know the truth. Lays out for his audience why we should believe him. Now, comrades, what is the nature of this life of ours? Let's face it, our lives are miserable, laborious, and short. We are born, we are given just so much as food to keep the breath in our bodies, and those of us who are capable of it are forced to work to the last atom of our strength. And the very instant that our usefulness has become to an end, we are slaughtered with hideous cruelty. No animal in England knows the meaning of happiness or leisure after he is a year old. No animal in England is free. The life of ours is misery and slavery, and that is the plain truth. So right here, he is really, really, really laying down that he understands our plight and that there is so much emotion in this that we or that the characters as animals do not have the ability to live a fulfilling life. So this is pathos. He plays on their emotions. The life of ours is misery and slavery. That is the plain truth. Well, we may disagree with that, but this is what he really wants you to see. Okay? That life is misery and slavery, and there's really nothing else to it. But simply the order of nature is because this land of ours is so poor, it cannot afford a decent life to those who dwell upon. No, comrades, 1,000 times no. The soil of England is fertile. Its climate is good. It's capable of affording food in abundance to enormously greater numbers than inhabit it. This whole section right here is logos. He provides logic as to how the farm would support the animals and not just man. Okay. The single farm of ours would support a dozen horses, 20 cows, 100 sheep, and all of them living in comfort and dignity that are now almost beyond our imagining. Why then we continue in this miserable condition? Because nearly the whole produce of our layer is stolen from us by human beings. This right here, stolen from us by human beings, this is really, really not necessarily a pathos, ethos, or logo as much as it is a personal attack. He names his enemy. And whenever we really want to bring a bunch of people together, the one way to do it is to have a common enemy. And Farmer Jones does that extremely well here. He says, hey, all of us, all of our hardworking animals, we have one common enemy, and that's man. There, comrades, is the answer to all problems. It's summed up in a single word: man. Man is the only real enemy we have. Remove man from the scene, and the root cause of hunger and overwork is abolished forever. He justifies, at this juncture, he justifies the rebellion against man. We are always united in our fight against a common enemy. Man is the only creature that consumes without producing, and here he's going again. He's going to continue to talk about how man is the root cause of the whole issues, of all the issues they're facing on the farm. He doesn't lay eggs, he's too weak to pull the plow, he cannot run fast enough to catch rabbits, yet he's the lord of all the animals. He sets them to work, he gives back to them the bare minimum that will prevent them from starving, and the rest he keeps for himself. Our labor tills the soil, our dung fertilizes it, and yet there is not one of us that owns more than his bare skin. You cows that I see before me, how many thousands of gallons of milk have you given during this last year? And what has happened to that milk, which should have been breeding up sturdy cows? Yet every drop of it has gone down the throats of our enemies. And you hens, how many eggs have you laid this year, and how many of those eggs have hatched into chickens? The rest of those have all gone to market to bring in money for Jones and his men. And you, Clover, where are those 4 foals you bore who should have been the support and pleasure of your old age? Each was sold at a year old. You will never see them again. In return for your confinement and all your labor in your field, what have you had except bare rations and a stall? So Old Major is extremely craftful in what he starts to do here. This whole entire section, he is laying out pathos. This whole entire section. He plays on the emotions of mothers, right? How do you convince a whole society to change? Tell a mom that she can't feed her children, or that she's going to be not denied the ability to give her children a good life, and you will see women start to change. And I think that that's what he's doing here. He's saying, look at what's happened. You work your entire life and your children are still stolen away from you, and you never get to see them again. The things that are natural to you are no longer being held in some sort of reverence to who you are. They're just made for consumption. And so he lays this out as this argument against man. And by bringing in the emotion of the mothers in the crowd, he solidifies his call for rebellion. Hey, and even the miserable lives we lead are not allowed to reach their natural span. For myself, I do not grumble, for I'm one of the lucky ones. Right here. This right here. Okay, Old Major is just being, he's totally out of touch with reality. Uh, he's calling them to rebellion, and he has had children. He's going to go on a list that here. He's going to escape death from at the hands of Farmer Jones, and you should really see the irony that's happening right here. As he says, I'm 12 years old, I've had over 400 children, and such is the natural life of a pig. Right here, you guys should very clearly see that there is already a distinction between the pigs and the other animals. Okay, he goes on and he starts talking about how every one of you will scream your lives at the block within a year. Fear. Fear is an extremely powerful motivator. If we want to really scare someone, fear is going to do it. So fear is the most powerful motivator in Pathos. The more you're afraid of something, the more you're willing to take action to prevent it from happening. So when we hear politicians talk about fear of the future, they know very well that that causes a reaction within us and that we don't want to face that fear. He talks about, throwing the dogs into the pond and, Boxer, the very day those great muscles of yours lose power, Jones will sell you to the knacker and cook your throat and boil down to the foxhounds. I mean, this is terrible. This is a terrible way to die. And he says, if it is not crystal clear, then comments that all the evils of our lives spring from the tyranny of human beings. Once again, here is that common enemy. Only get rid of man and the producer of our labor we on our own. Almost overnight, we would become rich and free. He is making right here assurances that he cannot guarantee. Then he calls in a rebellion. This message to you, comrades, rebellion. I don't know when that rebellion come. It might be in a week or 100 years. But I do know as surely as I see the straw beneath my feet that sooner or later justice will be done. Fix your eyes on that, comrades, that through the short remainder of your lives, and above all, pass on this message of mine to those who come after you, so that future generations will carry on the struggle till it's victorious. I think it's really interesting here that he talks about the fact that the rebellion might not come in their lifetimes, that it might take a long time, that the struggle is going to exist over and over and over through generations, much like it has previous or prior to them. And remember, comrades, your resolution must never fail. No argument must lead you astray. Never listen when they tell you that man and animals have a common interest. The prosperity of the one is the prosperity of others. It's all lies. Man serves the interests of no creature except himself, and among us animals, let there be perfect unity, perfect comradeship in the struggle. All men are enemies, all animals are comrades. I want you to notice real quick these lines, all men are enemies, all animals are comrades. Don't listen to the fact that the prosperity of one is the prosperity of others. This is some major foreshadowing that's happening right here. These two lines right here are you're going to see them change. So what I want you guys to do now is I want you to move on after doing this close read with me, and I want you to share your answers with the other people that are at your group. Just go through and talk about what you think about Old Major speech. Do you find it to be effective? And I really want that to be the question that we focus on today. Is Old Major's speech effective? So I want you to kind of talk at your group or with your partner about what makes Old Major speech effective. Is it Pathos, Ethos, or Logos? And then I want you to move on and use the discussion cards that are at your table to help facilitate that discussion about the effectiveness of this speech.